Over 2,300 years ago, during the Warring States period in China, a time of constant power struggles among the feudal states, there was a place located in the Zhou Kingdom, at the heart of China. Here, in a valley surrounded by steep cliffs, dense forests, and misty clouds, lay a place that radiated a mystical aura. People from all over the world called it the Ghost Valley, Guigu. Within this valley lived an extraordinary sage known as Guiguzi, a mysterious figure said to have vast knowledge of astrology, military strategy, persuasion, and the art of life extension. Despite being over 100 years old, he appeared youthful, with a head of white hair and a vibrant, energetic spirit. Guiguzi's lectures were held on a high platform, steep and towering. On the days of his teachings, his disciples climbed up a long wooden ladder to reach the top. From the platform, they could see the vast green mountains and hear the sound of the forest. To the side of the platform stood a small grass hut, built with branches and mountain grass, where Guiguzi spent his time cultivating himself. This was also the place where he gave his teachings to the disciples. Guiguzi had a group of disciples who studied military strategy, with Sun Bin from the Qi state and Pang Juan from the Wei state standing out as the most talented. Pang Juan had a strong-willed character and always sought to outdo others, while Sun Bin was generous and always gave way. Both entered Guiguzi's school in the same year with the ambition of achieving greatness, and they became sworn brothers, with Sun Bin being a few months older, whom Pang Juan called brother. During his lectures, Guiguzi often encouraged his disciples to express their opinions and discuss the major issues of the world. At that time, the most talked-about subject among the disciples was which state could ultimately dominate all others. One day, as usual, the discussion took place. Sun Bin argued that among the 7 powerful states, Qi and Qin had the best chance of becoming supreme rulers.
Qi is rich and powerful, located in the east with the sea to the north, watching over the central plains. It has abundant resources like fish and salt, and no immediate threats. In the past, Duke Huan of Qi rose to power through these advantages. Qin, though located far to the west, became powerful after implementing reforms. It has strict laws, a strong will to dominate, and the power to do so. Therefore, I believe that either Qi or Qin has the potential to become the ruler of all.
Sun Bin spoke with conviction, and several disciples nodded in agreement.
I disagree with Brother Sun's opinion,
said Pang Juan. Sun Bin turned to see his fellow disciple Pang Juan, who had just returned from a journey. Sun Bin greeted him warmly.
Junior, you're back.
After a brief exchange, Pang Juan continued.
Wei is prosperous, with strong and brave people. It is centrally located, with connections to Zhao to the north, Chu to the south, Han to the west, and it can threaten both Qi to the east and Qin to the west. Wei can force Zhao and Han to submit and make Chu cede territory. More importantly, I have witnessed firsthand the Wei King's resolve to strengthen the state and recruit talented individuals from all over. The key to becoming a dominant state is to make good use of talents. Therefore, I believe Wei has the strongest potential to become the ruler of all.
A disciple asked Guiguzi.
Master, who is right, Brother Sun or Brother Pang?
Guiguzi smiled and said,
One is from the Qi state, and the other is from the Wei state. They each favor their own state, so it is hard for me to judge.
Pang Juan then said to Guiguzi,
Master, even if I am not from Wei, I still say this.
Guiguzi smiled faintly.
Oh, so you are thinking of leaving the Ghost Valley?
Pang Juan nodded and said,
Yes, the King of Wei is recruiting wise men from all over the world. I do not want to miss this opportunity.
And what about your studies?
Guiguzi asked. Pang Juan replied confidently,
I have been studying military strategy with you for over 3 years. Although I have not yet fully mastered all your teachings, if I leave the valley to assist the King of Wei, I am sure I can help Wei become the dominant power in the world.
Guiguzi smiled and said,
You should not speak so confidently.
Pang Juan then drew his sword, knelt down and pointed it toward the sky, saying,
If I cannot help the King of Wei dominate the world, I will never show my face to you again.
Guiguzi looked at Pang Juan for a moment and said,
Go to the valley and pick a mountain flower. I will tell your fortune.
Thank you, Master.
Pang Juan bowed deeply. The sun blazed fiercely in the sky, and Pang Juan searched desperately for a flower in the valley. After a long search, he finally spotted a small, weak flower hidden in the grass. He quickly picked it with great joy, but hesitated when he thought,
This flower is so small and weak. Master will surely think I am incapable of great things.
He decided to hide the flower in his sleeve and return to Guiguzi's hut. When he arrived, he told Guiguzi.
Master, there were no flowers in the mountains.
Guiguzi looked at Pang Juan's sleeve and said,
There are no flowers in the mountain, but what is that in your sleeve?
Pang Juan was startled, quickly took the withered flower from his sleeve and handed it to Guiguzi, explaining,
I thought this was not a flower.
Guiguzi took the flower, examined it, and said,
This flower is called Aristolochia, and it blooms 12 times. It symbolizes 12 years of wealth and glory. You found this flower in the Ghost Valley, but it has already withered under the sun. The path of your rise will be in the Wei state.
Pang Juan's face lit up with joy.
Master, does this mean I will definitely be promoted when I go to Wei?
Yes.
Guiguzi nodded slightly. Pang Juan was thrilled and said,
Master, if I truly gain favor with the King of Wei, I will not let you down for all the teachings you have given me over the past 3 years.
Guiguzi looked at the flower in his hand and said,
Pang Juan, you should not have deceived me. Deceiving others will only lead to being deceived in return. You must get rid of this flaw. Also, I will give you 8 words to remember. Be tolerant when meeting sheep. Be cautious when meeting horses.
Pang Juan nodded in agreement and then asked,
I've heard that you possess a rare military book called The Art of War. It can teach one to win every battle. If you could give me a copy of The Art of War, I would have even more confidence in assisting the King of Wei.
Guiguzi remained calm and said,
The Art of War is indeed a rare book. When Sun Wu finished writing it, he presented it to King Hui of Wei. The king won many battles and became the dominant ruler. He valued the art of war greatly and hid it in the Gusutai. Later, when the Yue state destroyed Wu, they burned the Gusutai, and the art of war turned to ashes. That was the only copy in the world.
But I heard that you were a close friend of Sun Wu and that he gave you a copy of the book.
Except for King Hui, Sun Wu never let anyone else see his book, let alone give it away.
So, Master, you do not want to pass the art of war on to me?
Guiguzi smiled faintly and said,
If you do not believe my words, stay here and accompany me day and night. Then you can see for yourself whether I possess the art of war.
I do not doubt you.
Pang Juan said, somewhat embarrassed.
I just desire the art of war so much.
Guiguzi looked at Pang Juan, who seemed downcast, and said earnestly,
What is meant to come to you will come. What is not meant for you, no matter how hard you try, you will not get.
On the day Pang Juan left the Ghost Valley, Sun Bin saw him off. As they walked, Pang Juan stopped and said,
Brother Sun, there's no need to see me off further.
Sun Bin, feeling emotional, said,
Brother, parting today. I don't know when we will meet again. Let me take you out of the Ghost Valley.
Even if I accompany you for 1,000 miles, we will still part here.
You and I have been classmates for 3 years, sharing the same aspirations. I truly don't want to part with you.
I feel the same way.
Pang Juan sighed.
But we came here from far away to learn military strategy, didn't we? We have to achieve great things one day, and to do so, we must go our separate ways.
That's true.
Sun Bin hesitated for a moment and then said,
Brother, if you gain favor with the King of Wei, could you recommend me to him?
Pang Juan smiled and said,
Brother Sun, didn't you say that Qi is the state with the most potential to dominate? Why not return to your own country?
Sun Bin was about to speak but stopped, saying,
Forget it, just pretend I didn't say anything.
Pang Juan laughed loudly.
Ha 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 ha. Brother Sun, don't take it seriously. I was just joking. We have an oath as brothers. Since you want to go to Wei, I will certainly recommend you to the King of Wei when I meet him. We will accomplish great things together.
Is this really true, brother?
I, Pang Juan, swear by my sword that if I break my word, let me die by 1,000 blades.
Pang Juan drew his sword and swore an oath. Sun Bin complained.
Junior, there's no need to swear such a heavy oath for a single sentence.
Pang Juan, with sincere expression, said,
I genuinely hope that you, brother Sun, will join me in this great endeavor.
Sun Bin was deeply moved by Pang Juan's words and replied,
Junior, I will be waiting for your news.
Pang Juan nodded, cupped his hands and said,
Brother Sun, we shall meet again, we shall meet again.
After Pang Juan left, Guiguzi called Sun Bin over and instructed him.
These past few nights, some mice have been gnawing near my pillow. I find this sound particularly annoying. Tell the other disciples to take turns keeping watch and driving the mice away every night. Tonight, it will start with you.
Sun Bin immediately agreed and came to the hut that night to keep watch for Guiguzi. As the night grew deeper, Guiguzi lay on his pillow pretending to sleep. Sun Bin sat not far from him, attentively listening for the sound of the mice, worried that they might disturb Guiguzi. Guiguzi turned over slightly, opened his eyes with a relaxed gaze, looked at Sun Bin, and asked,
Sun Bin, what are you doing?
I am following Master's instructions, keeping watch and driving away the mice.
Guiguzi sat up, smiled, and said,
The art of war often depends on deception. Did you not suspect that my arrangement might be a deception?
Sun Bin shook his head honestly and said,
No.
Guiguzi sighed lightly.
Ah, Sun Bin, your trouble in the future will be that you trust others too much.
You are my master, I should trust you. If it were an enemy, I would never trust them.
Guiguzi smiled faintly but did not speak further. He reached for a wooden box by his pillow, opened it, and took out a scroll. He handed it to Sun Bin, saying,
Sun Bin, this is the art of war by your great-grandfather, Sun Wu. It is known as the Sunzi Bingfa.
Master, didn't you say the art of war was lost?
Sun Bin asked, confused.
It was lost, and yet not lost. The version your great-grandfather presented to King Hui of Wei was indeed lost, but I have another copy that he gave me. I have studied it carefully, and it has greatly benefited me. I have also added annotations. For many years, I have kept the art of war to myself. Sun Bin, you are loyal, kind-hearted, and the descendant of Sun Wu. Now, I will pass this art of war to you.
Master, Pang Juan has been desperately searching for the art of war. Why didn't you pass it on to him?
Whoever receives the art of war and uses it well will benefit the world. If misused, it will bring harm. I do not trust Pang Juan's character.
Master Pang Juan values loyalty and keeps his promises. You should not doubt him.
Sun Bin, let us not discuss Pang Juan tonight. Let us focus on the art of war, shall we?
Guiguzi smiled.
Yes, I am eager to learn, Master.
As the seasons changed, Sun Bin committed the art of war to memory. One day Guiguzi tested him, saying,
In the art of war, it says war is based on deception. What does that mean?
Sun Bin answered,
In warfare, when deception is not yet in place, we must pretend to be incapable of fighting when we are able, pretend to avoid fighting when we want to fight, pretend to attack a distant place when we are actually going to attack a nearby one, and pretend to attack nearby when we are really going for the distant. If the enemy is greedy, we use small temptations to lure them. If the enemy is in disarray, we attack. If the enemy is strong, we defend cautiously. If the enemy is confident, we disrupt their plans. If the enemy is humble, we make them arrogant. If the enemy is strong, we tire them out. If the enemy is united, we sow discord.
Guiguzi raised his hand to signal Sun Bin to stop, then said,
I hope that you not only memorize the art of war by heart, but also learn to apply it. Otherwise, not only will you fail to defeat your enemies, but you may also fall victim to their strategies.
Yes, I understand, Master.
Guiguzi placed the wooden box in front of Sun Bin and said,
Go down to the bottom of the cliff and find a quiet place to burn this book. Do not leave a single bamboo slip behind.
Sun Bin was stunned and asked,
Master, this is the only art of war in the world. Why must it be burned?
Guiguzi laughed.
Ha ha ha! You have already memorized it by heart. It is no longer of any use to me.
But Master, you could pass it on to other disciples. How can it have no use?
I promised your great-grandfather that I would only pass the art of war to the person I trust most. Can I pass it to others now? Not yet, even to the closest of people. When the time comes, I will tell you. Now, go and burn it.
At the bottom of the hill, Sun Bin looked at the ashes of the bamboo slips, shaking his head in regret. Just as he was about to turn back, he encountered a well-dressed young man with a long sword on his back. The young man expressed his intention to study military strategy under Guiguzi.
Master Guiguzi is very strict when it comes to accepting disciples,
Sun Bin said.
Out of 10 people who seek to learn, only one might be accepted.
I am that one.
Sun Bin smiled with amusement.
Hey, you're quite confident, young man.
Of course, if I wasn't confident, I wouldn't have come.
Sun Bin asked the young man to wait for a moment, then climbed the platform to report the young man's request to Guiguzi. Guiguzi, having not seen the young man, immediately refused, saying that the young man was a woman. Indeed, the handsome young man was actually a woman named Zhongli Chun, disguised as a man. When Zhongli Chun heard that Guiguzi had refused her entry because she was a woman, she angrily exclaimed,
What's wrong with being a woman? A woman can kill and lead an army just like a man.
Ah, young lady, please don't be upset.
Sun Bin tried to comfort her.
Master has a rule that no women are accepted as disciples.
Pa, nonsense.
Zhongli Chun spat angrily.
I refuse to believe that a woman can't do what men do.
With that, she turned and stormed away from the Ghost Valley. Not long after Pang Juan returned to the Wei state, he quickly gained the favor of King Hui of Wei, who appointed him as the Grand Marshal. Pang Juan led the Wei army, first defeating smaller states like the state of Wei and state of Song, then going on to defeat the state of Qi, greatly boosting his reputation. King Hui of Wei was delighted and invited Pang Juan to share a delicious steamed lamb with him. He said to Pang Juan,
Having you, Marshal Pang, is like having Zhang Zia under King Wen of Zhou.
Zhang Zia was a famous strategist and advisor in ancient China who assisted King Wen of Zhou, the founding king of the Zhou dynasty, in overthrowing the Shang dynasty, ultimately helping establish a strong Zhou state. In Chinese history, the partnership between Zhang Zia and King Wen is seen as an ideal combination of a wise leader and a brilliant strategist. By comparing Pang Juan to Zhang Zia, King Hui of Wei is highlighting Pang Juan's intelligence and strategic vision, suggesting that, like Zhang Zia with King Wen, Pang Juan will help Wei defeat other states and lead the nation to victory and greatness. To the south of Wei lay the state of Chu, whose king also harbored ambitions of dominating the world. He sent an army of 100,000 soldiers from Fangcheng to attack Wei's Gaoling. King Hui of Wei and Pang Juan led an army of 300,000 to repel Chu's forces. Then, they advanced to Fangcheng to completely defeat Chu and solidify their dominance in the Central Plains. Chu's army was stationed in Wancheng to the south of Fangcheng. The Chu king planned to lure the Wei army into attacking Fangcheng and then use the advantageous terrain of Chu's Great Wall to defeat the Wei army. Upon hearing that the Wei army was moving toward Fangcheng, the Chu king was overjoyed and decided to personally lead his army to Fangcheng to face off with the Wei king. The chief strategist of Chu, a clever and insightful advisor, counseled the Chu king,
Your Majesty, now is not the time to rush into a battle at Fangcheng. The Wei army has just defeated Qi, and their morale is high. If we engage them now, the outcome is uncertain. If the Wei army cannot break through Fangcheng after a prolonged siege, their morale will surely decline. Then Your Majesty can engage them and secure a victory.
The battle for Fangcheng was brutal, with the Wei soldiers disregarding casualties, enduring a rain of stones and arrows, and nearly scaling the walls. At this point, Pang Juan ordered the army to retreat. King Hui of Wei was extremely displeased with Pang Juan's decision and summoned him to his tent to question him.
Why did you stop the siege? If you hadn't called for a retreat, my soldiers would have been at the gates of Fangcheng by now.
My spies in Wancheng reported that the Chu army is preparing to fight, and the Chu king is leading them. Even if we capture Fangcheng, we will suffer heavy losses. If the Chu king leads his army against us now, we have a greater chance of losing. I have ordered the troops to withdraw a bit and spread rumors that our soldiers have been struck by illness due to the harsh conditions, with more than 30% of the troops affected.
When the Chu king heard that the Wei army had retreated, he was pleased and clapped his hands in delight. He immediately decided to march toward Fangcheng to engage Wei in a decisive battle. The chief strategist of Chu advised,
Do not be deceived by Pang Juan's ruse.
he said,
Marshal Pang is a master of strategy and deceit. It was his tactics that led to Qi's defeat. If the Wei army were truly suffering from illness, Pang Juan would have secretly withdrawn them by now.
What should we do then? asked the Chu king.
He has thousands of tactics, but I have a fixed method. The Wei army will hold firm at Fangcheng, while your Majesty's army remains stationary.
But what if Wei really does withdraw? The Chu king asked.
Then your Majesty will win without a battle. All the other states will abandon Wei and submit to your Majesty.
The Chu king agreed to hold his army back. Meanwhile, Pang Juan was in a state of deep concern. Pang Juan had a young strategist under his command, named Gong Sun Yue, who was exceptionally intelligent and brave. Gong Sun Yue advised,
Marshal, the outcome of this battle will not be determined by a single location. It may be better to retreat for now and wait for a more favorable moment to fight Chu.
Pang Juan thought more deeply.
The Battle of Fangcheng will determine not only Wei's claim to supremacy, but also my position as Grand Marshal. If I retreat without a victory, the king will no longer trust me. If we win, even if we lose later, the king will still rely on me.
Gong Sun Yue continued.
Apart from Marshal Pang, no one in Wei can command the army. Even though the King of Wei has gathered many talented individuals, none surpass you in military leadership.
Even those under me could be made generals.
Pang Juan replied.
At Ghost Valley, there are many disciples of military strategy. Though they may not be as skilled as I am, each of them could lead an army.
Ghost Valley isn't too far from here.
Kong Sung suggested.
Why not send a fast horse to bring Guiguzi to offer us a good plan?
Pang Juan hesitated for a moment, then said,
When I left Ghost Valley, I swore that I would never meet Master again if I did not seek to dominate the world.
Gong Sun Yue offered to go on Pang Juan's behalf to Ghost Valley. Gong Sun Yue went to Ghost Valley and requested that Guiguzi provide a strategy to defeat Chu. Guiguzi refused, and Gong Sun Yue said,
Marshal Pang has sworn to never see Master again unless he has achieved victory. If we lose the Battle of Fangcheng, not only will he suffer disgrace, but the reputation of Master will also be tarnished.
Guiguzi laughed.
Ha ha ha, I am a recluse who cares little for reputation.
Gong Sun Yue, drawing his sword, held it to his abdomen and threatened.
Master, if you do not help, I will die before you.
Guiguzi smiled gently.
There is no need for you to act rashly. If I do not help, someone else will.
Who?
My disciple, Sun Bin.
Marshal Pang said that no one else in Ghost Valley could help him but you.
That was Pang Juan's mistake in underestimating others.
Guiguzi laughed.
Sun Bin is above Pang Juan, not beneath him. I'll call him here, and you can test him for yourself.
When Sun Bin heard the summons, he climbed the ladder and arrived at the high platform in front of the hut, only to find that Guiguzi had quietly left. Gong Sun Yue explained the situation of the Battle of Fangcheng to Sun Bin in detail. As the sun began to set, Sun Bin still had not come up with a winning strategy. Gong Sun Yue, feeling anxious, said,
Master Sun weighs supremacy. Marshal Pang's reputation, and even my life all depend on your wisdom. Please do not disappoint us.
Sun Bin asked Gong Sun Yue to eat first, saying they would discuss the strategy after the meal. Gong Sun Yue replied,
The ladder from the high platform has already been pulled away, and you cannot go down.
Sun Bin, somewhat displeased, said,
A good plan is one that comes naturally, not one that is forced out.
Gong Sun Yue responded.
I am not forcing you, but this is what Master Guiguzi instructed me to do. He entrusted the fate of Marshal Pang and the Wei state to you. He said, if you cut off your retreat, you will surely come up with a good plan.
At this, Sun Bin's eyes brightened and he happily said,
Gong Sun Yue, I have the plan now.
What plan?
Climb high and cut off the ladder.
Gong Sun Yue hurried back to the army camp using Guiguzi's name to deliver Sun Bin's plan to Pang Juan. He said,
Master Guiguzi said, it is right for the marshal to stop the siege of Fangcheng and lure the Chu king into a final battle, but we should not show weakness to Chu. The Wei army has defeated Qi many times, showcasing the wisdom of the Wei commander and the strength of its army to the world. If we show weakness to Chu before being defeated, they will sense a trap and refuse to engage in battle.
Pang Juan nodded and said,
That makes sense.
Gong Sun Yue continued,
Master Guiguzi said, at this moment, we should appear strong. Letting Chu feel that Wei is looking down on them, not taking them seriously. By pretending to be weak, we can lure the Chu king into a final battle.
Pang Juan asked Gong Sun Yue to elaborate further. Gong Sun Yue pointed to the military map and said,
Master advised the marshal to leave 100,000 soldiers to guard the camp. The remaining 200,000 soldiers should march along the southern route of the Chu Great Wall, then circle around the southern end of the wall, making it appear as though they are heading directly toward Wanqing to face the Chu king. In reality, however, 50,000 soldiers will stay behind to monitor the Chu king, while the remaining 150,000 will take a detour to the south, marching toward the Chu capital. This will create the illusion of advancing westward to attack, but in fact, the plan is to seize the Chu capital in one swift move and annihilate the Chu forces. At this point, the Chu king will surely think that the Wei army is overextending itself and will lead his forces into battle with us.
Pang Juan, still somewhat doubtful, asked,
But by doing this, we will lead the Wei army into a dead end.
If we cannot win, the entire army will be lost.
Gong Sun Yue replied,
I asked the master the same question, and he said, The art of war teaches that when in a desperate situation, we must make a stand. Only in such a situation can we find the strength to survive.
Pang Juan paused for a moment and asked,
Did the master mention the art of war?
Kursong Yak nodded.
Yes.
Pang Juan exclaimed. After a brief silence, he said,
Continue.
The art of war says, when soldiers are in a desperate situation with no way to retreat, there is no need for complex regulations. They will automatically be on alert and complete their tasks without being forced. They will unite without needing orders and obey military discipline without commands. Cutting off their retreat is like climbing to a height and then removing the latter soldiers will charge forward without hesitation.
Pang Juan clapped his hands in admiration.
This makes perfect sense, perfectly true.
Gong Sun Yue continued.
The master also said, once the Chu army leaves Wanqing, the marshal should immediately pull out 50,000 soldiers from the main camp.
Pang Juan interrupted excitedly.
I'll combine them with the 50,000 soldiers already at the southern end of the Great Wall, cutting off the Chu army's retreat and trapping them in the open fields with no safe ground to defend.
Gong Sun Yue nodded and continued.
The Chu army will be thrown into chaos. With our determined troops, we will easily overcome their disorganized forces.
Pang Juan clapped his hands in delight.
This is brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Had I studied the art of war, I too would have come up with such a plan.
Gong Sun Yue asked Pang Juan,
Why didn't Master Guiguzi pass the art of war on to you?
Pang Juan smiled and replied,
A teacher must always leave something for the disciple to learn. Otherwise, wouldn't the disciple surpass the teacher?
Gong Sun Yue wanted to reveal the truth to Pang Juan but hesitated, fearing that Pang Juan might not follow the plan if he knew the truth, so he kept silent. King Hui of Wei stayed with 100,000 soldiers outside the camp at Wanqing. Pang Juan led 200,000 soldiers around the southern end of the Chu Great Wall, heading straight for Fangcheng. The Chu king, upon hearing this, was greatly pleased, saying,
"The Wei army has finally lost patience. They have marched deep into my territory. I now have the upper hand."
After Pang Juan's army bypassed the Chu Great Wall, part of the army stalled, and the main force suddenly changed direction toward Fangcheng. This left the Chu king puzzled. The chief strategist of Chu thought the Wei army might be trying to use part of their forces to distract the Chu army while advancing toward Fangcheng to attack the Chu capital. The Chu king, eager to confront Pang Juan, ordered his entire army to march toward Wei and engage in a decisive battle. The chief strategist, still concerned, advised,
"Your Majesty, should we not check again to be sure? We might be fooled by Pang Juan's tactics."
The Chu king coldly replied,
"What is there to check? They have already entered my territory. Even if it's a trap, they will still be doomed."
Pang Juan led his army to the pre-designated battlefield and sternly warned his soldiers,
"We are fighting the Chu army in a desperate situation. If we do not win, we will perish. The only way to survive is to charge forward and fight to the death."
With a command from Pang Juan, hundreds of thousands of Wei soldiers charged forward like tigers seeking survival, fiercely attacking the Chu forces. The 80,000 soldiers of the Chu general, Sima, were quickly routed and fell apart. The Chu king, upon hearing news of the battlefield situation, was at a loss for what to do. The chief strategist advised the Chu king to immediately retreat to Fangcheng and combine forces with the defenders there to fight the Wei army. Just as the Chu king was preparing to order the retreat, urgent news arrived from the rear. The Wei forces at Fangcheng had suddenly appeared behind the Chu army, cutting off their connection to Fangcheng. The Chu king was at a loss and unable to find a solution. The chief strategist suggested that the Chu king submit to Wei. The Chu king firmly rejected, saying,
"No, my kingdom is vast and powerful. How could I submit to Wei?"
The chief strategist replied,
"Your Majesty, General Sima's army is the most courageous and skilled in the Chu army, but they were defeated in less than 2 hours. How can the remaining troops stand against the Wei forces? Now that your retreat route is cut off, what else can you do if you do not submit?"
The Chu king fell silent. The chief strategist continued,
"It is only by being flexible that one can achieve supremacy."
The Chu king still did not respond, and the chief strategist finally said,
"If your Majesty refuses to temporarily submit, it will be difficult to survive. Your life and your kingdom's future will be at risk."
Hearing this, the Chu king reluctantly agreed to surrender. Within a day, a once mighty kingdom had submitted to Wei. Pang Juan was delighted, and on his way back, he asked Gong Sun Yue,
"Gong Sun, do you think there is anyone in the world who can challenge me?"
Gong Sun Yue did not respond, but wore an apologetic expression and said,
Marshal, there is something I haven't told you.
"Oh, what is it?"
This plan did not come from Master Guiguzi, but from your senior brother, Sun Ben.
Pang Juan was immediately stunned. He asked,
"Is that true?"
Gong Sun Yue replied,
Sun Ben was afraid you wouldn't believe his plan, so he had me pretend it came from Guiguzi.
Pang Juan's face darkened.
"So those words in the art of war, they were his?"
Gong Sun Yue nodded and said,
Yes, he speaks of the art of war as if it was second nature to him.
Pang Juan was furious. Guiguzi had not told him the truth. Not only had he kept a copy of the art of war, but he had also passed it on to Sun Bin. Gong Sun Yue, undeterred, said to Pang Juan,
If Sun Ben were to come out of seclusion, he could become an opponent that the marshal would find hard to defeat.
Pang Juan fell silent for a moment, then coldly laughed.
"Ha ha ha, I will make him work for me."
This is the tactic known as taking the ladder after ascending the tower, one of the 36 stratagems, specifically the 28th stratagem, as summarized by later generations. The meaning of this stratagem is to deliberately present a seemingly advantageous point to lure the enemy into a position that benefits us, and then remove their means of retreat, forcing them into submission. Another interpretation, as described in the art of war, is that by cutting off the enemy's retreat, like removing a ladder after climbing to a height, It forces the soldiers to fight with no way back, compelling them to engage in a life-or-death struggle. Sun Bin's tactic of taking the ladder after ascending the tower was used by Pang Juan to force Chu into submission. Pang Juan's jealousy of Sun Bin grew, and to know what happens next, stay tuned for the next chapter, where smiling with a hidden dagger.
You've been watching The Art of War and the 36 Stratagems. If you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing. Your support through subscription helps the channel thrive and continue to grow. Thank you for your support. Finally, we've created a song, The Wisdom of Sun Wu. Please enjoy.
Born in silence, under skies so wide, youthful steps with the earth as guide, eyes of fire, dreams take flight, through shadowed paths he claims the night. Scrolls of thought in hands so keen, wisdom forged in the battles unseen, lessons carved in the heart of flame, his path to glory etched in name. Rising high, the winds will sing of victories born where shadows cling. Steel and mind, a fusion rare, the timeless call, his wisdom's flare. Through war's dance, a rhythm cold, strategic light in a warrior bold. Metal rings, the echo of fight, balanced by truth, the guiding light. Drums of war, yet hearts stay still. A master's mind bends the will. Through ages long, his voice resounds, a legacy in wisdom found. Rising high, the winds will sing of victories born where shadows cling. Steel and mind, a fusion rare, the timeless call, his wisdom's flare.